In every programming language, there are functions that are more useful than others. Ones that you'll use time and time again, so much so that you'll end up memorizing exactly how they work. You know the ones I'm talking about. PowerApps is no different, and today I'm going to show you 3 functions that you'll end up using many times in just about every app that you'll build. Let us begin with the function filter.
So filter is really important. It's probably one of the first real functions that you will use in your Power App, and filter, as its name suggests, does exactly that. It filters a data source or a collection based on a parameter that you give that function. Very rarely do you ever want to see the full data set. You're normally wanting to filter it in some way, either when you're displaying it in a gallery like I am here on the left hand side. This is a gallery connected to, well, this is a gallery with its items set to our collection. Items equals col inventory. So let's just take a quick look at this in action. And we can see our stock number here on the right hand side. We've got a whole heap of different levels of stock for each one of our items that we have. And I'm going to say, well, I want to see everything that is running really low, and I consider low anything that's less than 5. So let's click go, and our collection is filtered by that number immediately, and now I can only see the items that have less than 5 stock. So let's just get rid of that. Let's bring that list back down to the full list, and with our second option here, we've got supplied by, and I can see in our drop down that we've got all of our different suppliers that are available inside of our collection. And I may just want to see all of the items that I've gotten from eBay. How about Amazon? So let's take a closer look at the filter function. In our go button here, let's drag this down. Let's take a look at what I'm doing. So let's just first look at in closer detail the actual function filter itself, and we can see here we've got filter open bracket, and we're filtering our col inventory collection as our first parameter. So the first parameter for filter is the actual data connection or collection that we are filtering. Incidentally, this can also be a gallery, and comma. And the second parameter here is our logical test. So for in this example, I just want to filter when stock is less than the value that I'm putting inside of that text field, which is just the filter box that I'm using. Now, stock is a column inside of col inventory. So when you're typing this out, it will actually prompt you for the column name, columns that are available. So I am now filtering col inventory where stock is less than value, open bracket, text filter stock dot text. Outside of that filter function, I'm collecting that data again in the col inventory collection. Now what this means is that we'll clear collect, like I said, it initializes the variable or writes over the variable. So any previous data that was in there gets wiped over. So what I'm doing, I'm recreating that inventory based on what is currently in there, and I'm filtering that and then pushing that back into col inventory, which therefore creates a new subset of data inside of our gallery to display. Now all I'm doing above that, I've just wrapped that inside of an if statement, and I'm just checking if that field is blank. So when it's blank, I just reinitialize that collection based on our initial data connection, and that gives us all of our records back that are unfiltered. Let's see how I've achieved the supplied by filter. Filter, open bracket, here's our collection again, comma. This time we're filtering the supplier column inside of our collection. So when supplier is equal to our drop-down result, selected result, which is the value that we're selecting in our drop-down. Well, to expand on that, you can see I'm also doing the same thing I did previously, where I'm initializing that collection, and I'm pushing those new filtered values into our col collection so our gallery items are reinitialized. In here, I'm just checking that I haven't selected all. So if I select all, then it doesn't do our filter. It just reinitializes our collection to our initial inventory data set. Let's take one last look at that in action. If I go back to all, it shows us all of our items. And that is the filter function.
Next up, the ForAll function.
ForAll is used when we want to traverse across our entire data set or our entire table or collection and perform some action across all the data across all of our entire table. So in this example, I've got an update stock field and I've got a go button. So again, we're just dealing with our inventory collection. Say I wanted to make a change to a couple of values, and instead of going in and clicking on and changing each field or each record, I should say, individually, I'd like to make a change across the entire data set with just one action. So with ForAll, I can do that. So let's say select capacitor. No, let's not select capacitor. Let's select the Raspberry Pi, project boxes, and Arduino, because they're kind of all related. And at the moment you can see their stock is, I've got 3 Arduinos, I've got 1 Raspberry Pi, and I've got 3 project boxes. But let's say I went out and did a new order and I've updated all my stock, and now I've got 10 of everything. And now I've changed all 3 options with one action to 10. So I'm updating multiple records across our collection. Let's see how I've done that. You can see here we've got a function, we've got the ForAll function, and in here we've got a couple of parameters. First off is the collection or data connection that we want to traverse across. And in this case, we want col inventory, which is our collection we've been using. Now, you can also see I'm using the filter function here as well. And why I'm using that is that I don't want to actually traverse across the entire data set. I want a subset of that. And I only want to affect the records inside of our inventory collection that have is record checked is equal to true. And they're the records that I checked inside of the gallery. And second parameter is what I'm going to do to each one of those records that's found inside of that ForAll or inside of that collection that meet that criteria. Now, what I've decided to do here is I'm just patching the collection. So I'm updating each record. And in here, I'm just saying where title equals title. And now why I'm doing that is that patch also requires a second parameter to say which record am I actually updating. So it's not enough just to put it in the ForAll when I'm dealing with patch. I also have to do a record. I have to tell it which record. So all I'm saying here is when title, which is title from col or title from the col inventory equals the title from the ForAll function col inventory. So I'm just saying when the record is when it's each record that I'm going through, when that record equals that record, which is going to be always, update that value.
Finally, let's take a look at the Concat function.
Now, Concat is similar to ForAll where it works across the entire data set, but what Concat does, it goes through it'll go through every single record inside of your data set or collection and will merge or concatenate string values into one value. Now this is extremely useful when you're doing things like you want to create a consolidated string or consolidated value of everything across an entire table. So one really good example of when you would use the concat function is when you're doing exporting to PDF from PowerApps. Now, one of the things that's required when you're exporting is to take all of your data from your form or from your data connections and collections and put them into a HTML format. Now, the great way to do that is through a HTML control, and HTML control takes a string and then will display that as HTML, and we will use that one consolidated value and push that to flow. Now, if you haven't done that before, I'll link a video on how to export to PDF on the screen now. But that's just one application where you would use the concat function. So concat's also really useful for creating a big block of, say, JSON data, or even just a big string of data that you want to send to Flow or some other external system from PowerApps. There's many times where you would actually want to consolidate values from a table and put them into one single value, but the PDF example is a pretty common one that you will use concat on a regular basis. So on our screen, we've got our gallery again, and on the right hand side we've got a HTML control. And if we take a look at our HTML control here, what I'm effectively doing is that I'm creating a block of HTML code that will display all my data from my gallery just as a HTML table. And you can see here I'm setting up the top bit here, which is just the static part of the table, and here's some formatting, and here's where I'm defining the headers. But it's where I close that string and then I concatenate. Now, not concat, I'm concatenate, or I'm joining that string to our concat function. Now, if we take a look at the concat function closer here, we can see we've got our concat, open bracket, and here's our collection, col inventory that we've been using. And in here, we're going to create a new string that will be generated for each record for our col inventory. So it's going to go through line by line of our col inventory collection, and it's going to create this string, or it's going to output this string to this control or wherever I've used it. So in this case, it's my HTML control. So concat, our collection, bracket, open bracket, concat, open bracket, and then our collection, comma, and we've got some HTML, and then that string is joined to our title column, which is coming from our col inventory, and then I close that. I join a new string to it, which is just the closed cell in our table, and then open another cell. Here's our styling again. Join that to part number. So part number is another column inside of our col inventory collection. Here's a string joined again with the ampersand. There's another column. Join that again, and so on until we've finished what we want to repeat, or what string we want to create for each line of our collection. And what this effectively does is it generates a block of HTML that conforms to a line of HTML for our table. And then we just close it'll do this for each record as well, for each record inside of our collection. Then we close our bracket, and then last thing we do, which the close bracket finishes off the function, and then we just join one last string to it, which is our closed table. And what we end up with is a beautifully formatted HTML table that is a identical, or a representation of our gallery data or our collection data in HTML.
Okay, that's part 1 of my Essential Functions series done and dusted. I hope that was a good intro into how those functions operate, and now you're a little bit more enlightened on how you can put them to work within your PowerApps application. Feel free to drop in the comments if you agree or disagree with my view, or even if you just want to say hi. Make sure you click the like button if in fact you liked this video, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. As always, I thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next episode.